We're not. We are live. We are live now. Yes. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode. Sorry, there's a little bit of delay going live, but it's fine. We're all good now. Welcome to another episode of Overlooked News, a special episode. My name is Andrew, alongside Z, and what's up, Z? And Ludin is also joining us, and of course, we've got a special guest with us, Ron Placone. How you doing over there, Ron?
What's up? Good to see everyone. Thanks for having me. And I will give a quick disclaimer at the top here. If I at any point seem a little bit out of it, I am battling COVID at the moment. So yeah, I'm supposed to be in Iceland for a festival right now. I had to cancel that, unfortunately. So
were you in the festival, or were you just going to the
no,
festival?
I was in the festival. Yeah,
awesome.
I was in the festival.
Awesome, but yeah, that sucks. That really sucks.
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, I should be able to reschedule it somewhat easily because I planned on doing some UK stuff next year, and Iceland's not too far away. So I'm like, well, I'll just tag it on to the UK stuff next year. So I'm not like totally like, oh my God, this will never happen again. But it is a bummer, you know?
I would be so bummed. That sounds like Iceland looks really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to like do the silver lining approach. My wife was not able to make the trip with me. And like everyone was telling me, they're like, dude, you don't go to Iceland. Like Iceland is a total couples vacation, man. So, and I was looking into it. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to be going to like some of the most amazing hot springs in the world just by myself. Like, yeah, just married dude flying solo here. So I'm hoping that, because I had to cancel an international festival because of COVID, it'll be easier to like make sure she's able to come with me. Like, I'm like, I think that's the universe telling you you're meant to accompany me on this trip. And whenever I reschedule the Iceland dates, you need to come. So hopefully that happens.
Yeah, hopefully. You don't want to be like in a hot spring by yourself, looking around. There's couples everywhere. Go see like a cool site. And then you look around, everybody's like getting in together. You're just like, yep.
Dude, yeah. I mean, I was messaging with a friend of mine, and he literally like he's performed in Iceland a bunch, and I was asking him like stuff to do, and he's just like, "Is your wife coming with you?" And I was like, "No." And he just sent me this big long thing. And he's like, "I almost don't feel like telling you anything if your wife's not gonna come with you." So I showed it to her. I'm just like, dude, strangers are throwing you shade for not coming on this Iceland. I mean, she wanted to go. She just, work stuff. But yeah, anyway. So hopefully that's going to be at the end. It's all going to be, for the best. Hopefully that's
I hope you feel better soon.
I'm feeling okay now, man. I mean, I have my energy feels a little low, and I get tired sometimes, but other than that, I don't feel too much. I only had one day where I was really out of it. And that day it was like, I just could not be awake. Like I was just so tired. It reminded me, I don't know if any of you guys have ever had mono before. I got mono when I was in high school because I made out with a lot of water fountains, but I got mono in high school, and it kind of reminds me of mono. That's how it feels.
Oh, I can see that. Except hopefully, I think the thing with mono is that it lasts forever, right? And so hopefully, this doesn't last as long.
I don't know if it lasts forever. I mean, yeah, I had a really bad case when I was a kid. Like I missed like a month of school and stuff, and I ended up in the hospital because like my tonsils closed up. So this is actually, I mean, it reminded me of mono as far as how tired I was, but I was way sicker, comparatively speaking, when I had mono to how this is making me feel. But I know I'm just one person with one experience, but yeah, but it just kind of reminded me of that, where it's like mentally you want to be awake and doing something, but your body is just like shut down. Like your body's just like, nope, I'm sleeping. And you're like, all right, I guess. Shit.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's the best part.
So, yeah. So there's Ron's health history there for everyone. And in addition to that, we wanted to bring Ron on because there's a couple of antitrust legislations right now that are in Congress. And I think, at least for me, I think it's always important we talk about the power of monopolies and what they do, right? And the effect that they have on our society, right? Because I think that oftentimes is, no pun intended, overlooked in the discourse. And so, sorry, Z.
Okay.
So, wanted to thank Ron for coming on. And how about let's start, Ludin, if you want to play the short clip of Ron's Antitrust Summer by the Beach, just as a little introduction. And then we can go from there.
Captain.
What's up, everybody? Ron Placone here on the beach, and I'm having an antitrust summer. What's that, you ask? There's two bills out right now, OMA and ACOA. OMA helps level the playing field for alternative apps. It ends the exorbitant commission and fees that Google and Apple charge for them just to be in the store, and it allows you, the consumer, to decide which software works on your device. ACOA, places like Amazon, they favor their own products and services and search results, and they'll feed you more of their own products and services based on the data they harvest from you. This ends that and requires them to show you all the products and services listed from all the vendors and allows you, the consumer, to decide. These are two important pieces of legislation that are antitrust pieces of legislation that we have a chance at passing, but we got to act with the momentum and make sure that these bills get voted on. So go to antitrustsummer.com and sign now. That's antitrustsummer.com.
Sounds like it was a pretty windy day that day. But
yeah, that's usually par for the course, but I don't know. I like doing kind of segments on the beach, so I do it anyway. I mean, it's like, that's part of it. It's like it's a dude on the beach just telling you something that's going on. And I mean, I just use my phone, so I can't really have like a windscreen or anything like that. Maybe someday I'll get a whole production team for the beach walk videos, and we'll have like or maybe I'll just do it in front of a green screen. That's the beach. And then I would never do that. I mean, that takes the fun out of it. Then it's not fun anymore then, because I'm not actually on the beach. It's just a bright light and a green screen, but I'm like pretending.
Yeah, especially when you said it was a couple minutes away.
Right.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I walk down the hill and I just like kind of do them. Like, people. I mean, there's got to be a couple people at this point who have like just noticed, because it's like it's just dude like just walking, talking to his phone or something. And I take all my phone calls there too. Typically, like whenever I'm calling somebody, I take like there's a lot of characters at my local beach. Like there's this one guy, he always wears like he always skateboards, but he skateboards in a Nacho Libre mask, and he's there every day. And then there's so there's a lot of characters. And then like one day I kind of realized, I'm probably one of them. Like I'm probably one of the like somebody talks about the people. They're like, there's this one dude with red hair. He's always talking, like he's making I guess a vlog or something on his phone, but he's talking about like labor stuff and a bunch of shit I never heard of. And then sometimes he's talking on the phone with people. I don't know if he's actually on a phone call or talking to himself. He's a weird guy. And so like I've realized like I'm definitely one of the characters at my beach. And I don't know, that's cool. I like that. I feel like that's a one of a like a life goal unlocked, like, okay, this is
part
a
of beach lore now.
level 2 accomplishment here.
Do you have like a designated time of day that you go there, or is it like all throughout? Like,
no, I just go there as much as possible, and I'm always looking for an excuse to like go again. So I'll I have to go to like get the transcriptions and stuff. I use a program called Veed, so I have to like do it on my computer. It's just hard to do on your phone. It's kind of a pain. So I usually, after I finish the walk, I go and then I run it through that. Like, so I have to go back home, So then I'll just use an excuse to go back down to the beach again. I'll be like, well, I made the video, but now I just want to, exercise or something. So
yeah. Yeah, makes sense. So, talking about antitrust. So maybe just starting from the beginning. When people say antitrust, right? How, Ron, would you define antitrust and sort of what exactly it means?
Well, antitrust is just breaking up monopolistic ventures in the United States. And we do have an antitrust history in this country. It has happened in the past. One of the more successful ones to highlight is AT&T. AT&T used to have a monopoly on our phone lines, and I think all of us here are probably old enough to remember that. We remember when if you had relatives who lived in a different state, you would maybe talk to them once or twice a year because it costs an arm and a leg to make long distance phone calls. Why was that? Was it really that expensive of a thing to do? No, they just had a monopoly on our phone service, and nobody knew better. Everyone was thought they're doing great because no one knew the potential of what we could be having. So finally, they broke them up because AT&T was doing all kinds of shady stuff. Other people were trying to offer phone service. They had a monopoly on the equipment, et cetera, et cetera. So they broke them up. And what happened after? Well, first of all, long distance calling got way more affordable because other companies were able to get in. They were able to offer it just as good, but for a lower price. You also had new inventions happen. Like we got a thing called the answering machine. And then later we got a thing called the modem, which helped everybody get the World Wide Web. So there is a history of antitrust legislation in the United States. It is not a foreign concept, even to a country as corrupt as ours. So this is another opportunity for an antitrust win. And we've missed the mark on antitrust opportunities in other areas. We missed the mark when it came to the banks. We missed the mark when it came to housing. How's that going? Look at housing right now. What if we would have had some antitrust legislation against something like BlackRock? We could have maybe fought for it. We didn't. Same with the banks. How's that going? So, you look at a success story like AT&T, and then you look at some missed opportunities, and you think, okay, we better get this win because honestly, the future of the internet depends on it. Look, I'm not going to try to say that these two antitrust bills solves every single problem we have in the digital rights space. Of course, it doesn't. No single or double piece of legislation is going to. But this is a huge first step in reining in big tech and breaking up big tech and kind of leveling the playing field for new and innovative things on the internet. So it's incredibly important, and it bleeds into content creation too, because right now we're all at the mercy of YouTube. We're all at the mercy of Google. And, we could go on and on about the headache that gives. Well, if you start breaking these companies up, if you start reining in their power, if you start kind of limiting what they can do as far as their monopolistic practices, well, that's going to open up the door for the possibility of a future YouTube or a future multiple sustainable YouTubes or something like that. So, I encourage everyone to go to antitrust.summer.com, and it takes less than a minute to sign. It lets all of your elected officials know. And it puts the pressure. Chuck Schumer promised to vote this week. We've yet to hear anything. As of the recording of this, it's Thursday. So, I think it's safe to say we might not get the vote this week. Now, what's really important is that we really got to act before Congress goes on recess. Congress is going to go on recess, which they've worked very, very hard. They totally deserve a vacation. But, they're going to be going on recess. And if we let them go on recess and they didn't vote on this thing, they're going to come back and they're going to be in midterm mode. So these bills are just going to fall by the wayside. And guess what? I think Chuck Schumer would really love that because Chuck Schumer takes a lot of money from big tech. And his daughter's a lobbyist for Amazon. And his other daughter works with Meta, which is Facebook. So he's pretty embedded with big tech. So I'm sure he would love to just sort of let these things go away. But we got to force him to bring it to a vote like he promised he would. Because according to a couple Reuters pieces, the votes are there. If these things get put up to a vote and people vote the way they say they're going to, it will pass. So antitrustsummer.com.
Bipartisan support as well, right?
It does. And usually bipartisan means that, Republicans and Democrats have joined forces to sell a really horrible idea. But every now and again, there's an exception, and it's actually good legislation. This is one of the exceptions. This is good legislation. Amy Klobuchar and Chuck Grassley, a Republican out of Iowa, they're kind of the people behind this bill, and then I believe Blumenthal is behind one of the other ones. And, Klobuchar in particular and Grassley, they've combined forces on a couple tech bills in the past. And I've been critical of those past tech bills. I felt like they've missed the mark for a number of reasons. This one doesn't. This is a good one. This is good legislation. It's important legislation, and it really is crucial for the future of the internet. So, antitrustsummer.com, this is an attainable win, and it's a real important one. And I know how hard it is. I know when you look around and the freaking climate is collapsing, and there's just so much craziness going on in the world right now, and that's downplaying it. I know sometimes it's just like, okay, antitrust legislation, all right, but it's like, this is an attainable win. Like, we have a good chance here. And this is incredibly important when it comes to the global village we find ourselves in. And all of these issues are very much connected. Having strong and free and open internet is infinitely important when you think about things like climate change. Like, they are connected. So, I think that the left in particular really needs to hyper focus on winning in the margins. Because guess what? The right is really, really good at that. The right gets it. The right gets the importance of winning these policy wins. They get the importance of going local. All of these real estate developers, they understand the importance of that. The left, for whatever reason, doesn't understand that as much. And it's time for that to change. That needs to change.
Yeah, very well said.
Definitely agree.
Ludin, if you want to pull up the American Innovation and Choice Act summary bill, just so that we can dive a little bit into the weeds.
So this applies to social media as well, right? And anything, all the tech companies, correct?
It does, but I do think there are some specifications. They have to be like a certain size.
All right.
Like it applies to the big ones.
Okay, because I know that Facebook, there would be like, I guess if they broke Facebook up, there would be like a Facebook News, there would be a Facebook Marketplace. There's like, instead of just one giant company that's taking reins on all the spots, and it'd be like more like if you're talking about AT&T being broken into like Southern Bell and like.
Yeah, well, it's not like this legislation is as point blank as we are breaking you up and you need to be different things now. It's more like, this is what you do, and you can't do this anymore. Okay, so because this is a monopolistic process. Yeah, like what this bill does, and we can get into the text, is Facebook or excuse me, Google and Amazon. Those are the best examples for this in particular. Yeah. When you search for something on Amazon, let's use them as an example. And this is an example that they actually highlighted on the John Oliver piece. Say there's a popular designer bag on Amazon that's made by a particular company and people like it. Amazon harvests your data. Anyone who uses their service, they harvest your data. So Amazon now knows, oh, everybody likes this bag. So what Amazon does is they make a duplicate bag, like they make a knockoff basically, and then they sell it for way cheaper. And then here's what else they do. They will list their products and services first in that search. So maybe you want the other bag and you're willing to pay for it even. You still might not get that until page 2 or 3 of the results, because Amazon's just going to put all their stuff first, and you're just going to think, okay, I guess that's what I'm looking for. And then you get this kind of knockoff bag, and it's all from like data that they harvested from you. Google will do the same thing where they will scrape data. That's what it's called. It's called data scraping, where you get content from other websites, you repackage it as your own, and then you show that in the main results when people search for something. And then what does that do? Well, that doesn't give the traffic to other websites, which makes it harder for them to sustain themselves. So that's what these companies are doing that really just, strangles all of their competition. And because they are the dominating marketplace when it comes to searching, I mean, 90% of all searches happen on Google and Amazon. Most online commerce happens on Amazon. So they are the marketplace. And by doing this, like, they are just assuring their monopoly. And so they're saying, like, you can't do this. You have to just give free and open results. That's what the way the internet's supposed to operate. That's how you said you were going to operate. You have to do it this way.
Yeah. And so, Ludin, if you want to, because I can't necessarily see all the text here, so if you want to just kind of read off the summary of the American Innovation and
Sure.
Choice Act, just.
All right. This bill prohibits certain large online platforms from engaging in specified acts, including giving preference to their own products on the platform, unfairly limiting the availability on the platform of competing products from other businesses, or discriminating in the application or enforcement of the platform's terms of service among similarly situated users. Further, a platform may not materially restrict or impede the capacity of a competing business user to access or interoperate with the same platform, operating system, or hardware or software features. The bill also restricts the platform's use of non-public data obtained from or generated on the platform and prohibits the platform from restricting access to platform data generated by the activity of a competing business user. The bill also provides additional restrictions related to installing or uninstalling software, search or ranking functionality, and retaliation for contact with law enforcement regarding actual or potential violations of law. The bill establishes affirmative defenses for the prohibited conduct. The Federal Trade Commission and the Department of Justice must designate whether an entity is a platform covered by the bill, and both must carry out enforcement activities. The bill also provides for civil penalties, injunctions, and the forfeit of profits for repeat offenders.
Okay. Wow.
Okay. So data harvesting is going to start. They're going after the data harvesting for the most part, and making sure that, and making sure that they're not putting themselves as the first preference.
Well, it's more about putting themselves as the first preference. These bills don't address data privacy like directly, but it sort of indirectly does, because it's just saying you can't favor your own products and services over everything else. Data privacy is another battle for another day.
Can I ask you one question really fast? I know you live in California.
I do.
So like when I'm playing when I'm playing like video games or signing something that says like my data might be harvested, it usually says that this doesn't apply to California.
It says what?
Sometimes it says there's an exception in California. There's like, if there was there a law passed in California that like protects data a little bit, not like completely.
Yeah,
but
we had something passed, like when it came to like we get more disclaimers when it comes to our data. It was a weird policy that like it like it was kind of, the way it was framed was a little odd. And I don't remember all the details off the top of my head. But yeah, we did have something come through here. But I think stuff like this, you're so much better off doing it at the federal level. So it just applies to all internet users, at least domestically, obviously. So, I think that the way to go, we do need, I mean, I'm a big proponent of a straight up digital Bill of Rights. That's what I think the country needs. That's a very, very tall glass of water. But I think that would need to go into everything from data privacy to net neutrality and just kind of have it all there. But, a good place to start, though, is 2 really good antitrust bills. Got to start there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to me, when you said that Amazon, you gave that example of Amazon making knockoff bags, right? If they really like a bag, or if a bag is appealing to people. I mean, that to me just sounds like straight up copyright infringement, right?
Yeah, I mean, they find ways. Well, they find ways around it. I mean, it's like, and as far as, I mean, this is like we'd be really getting in the weeds if we want to like really dive into like trademark and copyright laws, but it's like there's only so many things you can like copyright and trademark, and it's probably one of those things where it's like maybe they change one of the flaps and it's basically the same bag, but this one thing is different, or one thing velcros instead of zippers, or like whatever.
There's so many things like that on Amazon where you're like, you type in
Right.
something and then you get like, you can find like a knockoff that's like kind of the same, but then it's like that's I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for the real thing.
Yeah, and it's a complicated issue, right? Because obviously it'd be kind of messed up if someone could trademark the concept of a bag. Like, hey, bags, that's mine now. You can't do that. I got this. On the same note, it's like, well, when you clearly ripped this design thing off, but changed just enough, man, that's really shitty. So I get the complexities there, but yeah, basically Amazon, they know how to do their homework to make sure they stay out of trouble. And by the way, when Jeff Bezos was asked about this, like, are you harvesting people's data to then make like knockoffs and do stuff like that? He gave this like BS non-answer. Like, he's like, well, technically we're not supposed to, but I can't promise that that's not what's happening. Like it was a ridiculous answer. I do recommend everybody check out the John Oliver clip on this topic. It was a very, very, very brilliant clip. I've not agreed with every single John Oliver segment I've ever seen. I mean, I disagree with him some on when it comes to third parties and when it comes to some foreign policy stuff. But when it comes to digital rights, that show always really does a good job. I mean, they did an excellent job with net neutrality, and they did an excellent job with this. So I highly, highly recommend that segment to everybody. The antitrust segment that he did.
I watched it a little bit earlier.
It's good. I mean, it's funny and it's incredibly informative. It's digital rights. Their net neutrality segment was like freaking genius too. I mean, they helped crash the FCC's website from their net neutrality segment.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, I mean, that was awesome. Like, that was freaking awesome.
That guy disappeared fast.
Huh?
Trump's FTC.
Ajit Pai, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he blocked me on Twitter, so.
Really?
Yeah, I'm one of. He blocked. I mean, basically any digital rights activist who was loud enough. I mean, he blocked like everybody. Yeah, he was beyond cringe, man. That guy. But I mean, speaking of another issue, I mean, the FCC is still at a standstill because they just have not appointed Gigi Sohn yet. I mean, and again, that's something else.
That would have been
Chuck
good.
Schumer, like, he's got to bring that to a vote, and it's remarkable. It really is.
Yeah. Now the question is, why are they dragging their feet with all these things?
Well,
they have money in the game.
Yeah, I mean, money and in Gigi Sohn's case, I mean, it's big tech lobbying, I think, is the big thing. The other thing is a lot of Republicans don't like her because she tweeted that she's not a fan of Fox News once. That's just such a, it's just like, wow, someone's not a fan of Fox News. Whoever saw that coming? But yeah, so there's a number of factors going on, but they're all ridiculous. And I mean, she should have been appointed, God, over a year ago at this point. I think it's safe to say. I mean, this may be the longest time in history that an appointment like this has taken this long, and nobody's really talking about it.
Yeah, because I haven't even heard about that appointment being blocked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's and Biden, to his credit, what little there is to give, I mean, he did promise a pro net neutrality FCC appointment. Mm-hmm. He did keep that promise. I mean, it took him long enough. He's not putting any pressure for them to, approve his nominee, which, it's not a big surprise that he's not, because he started his campaign with a bunch of Comcast executives. So, but he did appoint the right person. I mean, I'll give him that much.
He's been really good with his bit, like as far as like his base being able to be like, I did it, and then like knowing the Republicans, he's gonna get like all this opposition and just be like, well, I tried, but not like apply any pressure after that.
Yeah. No, that's true. I mean, yeah, he's very good at he's very good at kind of saving face that way. I feel like that's pretty much how the entire government works. That's pretty much, it's just
Yes.
like always pass the buck, and always is just like, well, can we blame Cinema Mansion again? No, I think we need to move on to the parliamentarian. And then I think we and Republicans kind of do it the other way too. Like they'll just be like, oh yeah, we would, our colleagues just won't compromise. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous.
It is.
Yeah, absolutely. Ludin, do you want to pull up these Open App Markets Act?
Oh, this is a long one.
This is the one I'm excited about. I mean, I'm excited about the other one, but I'm excited about this one because I like to just delve into apps and be like, okay.
This was by Blumenthal.
And having an Android, that would be even better.
Ooh.
Let's see. This bill establishes rules related to the operation of an app store by covered company, i.e. the owner or controller of an app store with more than 50 million US users, so like Apple or Google Play. An app is a software application or electronic service that may be run or directed by a user on a computer or mobile device. An app store is a publicly available website, software application, or other electronic service that distributes apps from third-party developers.
It is funny hearing old people like explain an app.
Mm-hmm. The bill prohibits a covered company from 1, requiring developers to use an in-app payment system owned or controlled by the company as a condition of distribution or accessibility. 2, requiring that pricing or conditions of sale be equal to or more favorable on its app store than other app stores. Or 3, taking punitive action against a developer for using or offering different pricing terms or conditions of sale through another in-app payment system or another app store. You know, this kind of reminds me of like the weird tug of war that they had like a while back with different websites like OnlyFans or the other ones that are similar. Like they were like, okay, if you use this, you can't have videos on the other one. It was crazy. So continuing on, a covered company may not interfere with legitimate business communications between developers and users, use non-public business information from a third-party app to compete with the app, or unreasonably prefer or bank its own apps or those of its business partners over other apps. The bill provides for enforcement of its provisions by Federal Trade Commission and the Department of Justice, as well as through suits brought by developers that are injured by reason or anything prohibited by this bill.
Yeah. So, Ron, say a little bit if you have any more information. Yeah, tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, basically, Google and Apple, like they are pretty much the monopoly when it comes to app stores. I mean, that's where people are getting their apps, and they charge these ridiculous commission fees and these just ridiculous fees just to exist there. And then they kind of like, certain software may or may not even work. So this is a bill that says, look, users get to decide what software does and doesn't work on their device. And, you can't do this to alternative apps. They need to have, like a fair shake, and you need to just kind of, let people have a shot, basically. So, that's what this bill does. And it's, it's infinitely important because like they're just monopolizing the entire app space. And again, this goes into, it's like when you have monopolistic practices like this, we don't know what we're capable of. I mean, people across the political spectrum, they love to use that term innovation, like that's the big, like, innovate. This is stifling innovation big time. And this is what's actually stifling innovation. When you just let them flex their monopolies like this, we don't know, like what could be out there that could really just revolutionize the way we do things, and the way we're able to communicate, and the way we're able to exchange ideas, or the way we're able to, distribute goods and services or whatever else. So, that's why this bill is a very important one.
Absolutely. Lunar Z, you got anything?
Yeah,
Response
me personally, I've never had an Apple product, so I've never been able to use FaceTime because it doesn't exist on Google Play. So
Say FaceTime?
Yeah, FaceTime is I think exclusively on Apple.
I have Google FaceTime on Android.
Or is that recent? Because I'm pretty sure FaceTime.
I think it just happened a little bit recently ago.
Yeah.
But I definitely understand. There are some things that sometimes some things that just has to do with the phone. But there's some apps that Callin. It took forever for Callin to get to Android. Callin was on Apple for months before it came to Android. It's there's so many apps out there, and
and
they're just in the bowels of the algorithm.
Yeah, even some drawing apps. I know Apple has Procreate. It doesn't exist on Android.
Apple also has GarageBand, which is such a good studio recording software. But
didn't they ruin it?
I think they have.
GarageBand used to rule, and then they were just we need to make this not cool. We need to ruin this. I feel like you guys are having too much fun.
Every phone, we need to take your audio jack away. And they give it back to you. They sell it back to you. It's what the? I can't even charge my phone.
There's a whole slew of things, but I feel like both iMovie and GarageBand used to be way cooler, and then I still use iMovie some, which I know most people don't really use that anymore, but I still use it sometimes. But yeah.
I remember back in the day, Snapchat. I think for a while, it was on only Apple, and it was really bad on Droid. I think from what I heard.
And Windows, I had a Windows phone at one point, and that was you being locked out of every that was bad. There was just nothing but when I had it at that point in time, it was really just everything was either either it was Android or Apple sharing, or they each had their own proprietary apps. And so Windows just had all these apps that no one even knew, knockoffs of all of them. And it's just I got my Insta pic, and everybody else is going back and forth on Instagram. That was a terrible time.
Oh man,
we're just gonna keep going through different kind of phones. It's just man, let me tell you about my BlackBerry. I'll tell you what, man. Let me tell you about my 08 Palm Pre, man. Let me tell you about
It's such a short amount of time too. Just so many phones. I'm just it.
Well, I love too how for a little while they were going in the trend of smaller and smaller phones, right? It was if you had a really small phone, you were cool. And then suddenly it was all right, we're reversing the trend. And now it's everything is a freaking iPad. Can't even put it in your damn pocket. So, oh man.
I hope these bills do go through.
Me too.
I've thought about making an app, and I don't want to be at the very bottom of the list. I'm already starting. The apps are probably, if I think of an app, it's probably going to be generic, so I want to at least have a chance.
Yeah, totally, man. I look forward to these bills passing, and then I'm going to download your app, and you will not have to pay some exorbitant fee, and there won't be some ridiculous commission. I'm just going to download your app. I don't even know what it is.
I don't even know what it is yet. I've just thought about it before.
Dude, just make an app, man. Whatever it is, I know it's going to make my life better. So just make that app, and I'm going to download it, and it's going to be the OMA Victory app. That's what it'll be.
It's beautiful. OMA Victory. Oh, yeah, that'd be great if people named apps after the bill.
It would just be very freeing to actually be able to use your items in their full capacity without restrictions from restrictions that really don't even need to be there. And obviously just oppressing people in the digital space, and then all this digital space. And then not to mention the other, you said, the other issues where pretty much the internet is now real estate. So people are buying up all of this this digital property, and then everyone else is going to be pretty much homeless in the digital space, or living in the digital slums. It's its own
Well, it's the truth, man, because I mean, it's like, look, this is a huge part of our world now, and the internet is clearly a utility in our lives, and it's
Mhm.
revolutionized the way we go about work, the way we go about our lives, the way we acquire things. And so you need to be careful with it because it's just like, what do we want for the future of the internet? Do we want it to be this democratized super highway of information the way it was supposed to be, the way that it was that made it cool in the first place? Or do we want it to continue to descend into this kind of monopolistic, capitalistic surveillance hellscape, which is the direction it's going in? And it could very easily keep going in that direction. And we'd be telling our kids and our grandkids what the internet used to be like. And they'd be like, wow, so that was, they couldn't even let us have that one cool thing, huh? They had to take that too. Like, yep, they had to take that too. Sorry about the planet. So, I'd rather I'd rather do what we can to kind of save the internet and use the internet as a tool to try to solve all of our other problems too.
Yeah, I wanted to allude, and if you can just pull up that one like article title. So this is like one article title that's trying to claim that antitrust is bad. I believe from. Do you have that on hand?
I believe it. Let me see. Yes, this one. Wait a second.
Yeah. So this is kind of entertaining and also really annoying because I'm sure this is going to be a common talking point against antitrust legislation. So, yeah. So, Amy Klobuchar's latest ban idea would ruin Amazon Prime and worse.
What is this? Like where? Like what?
Yeah, who's this from?
Based politics.
Based
Okay.
politics. What the? Are they just saying this because like it's Amy Klobuchar? I mean, she sucks, but that doesn't mean like that it's a bad bill.
Let's see. Try this a little bit more. For most people, that would not have. For most people, that would be a never. Oh, hold up. It goes up. When was the last time you looked at your business climate and thought, you know what, the U.S. ought to be more like them?
Yesterday. I mean, I'm already sort of like not following. Yeah,
it's okay.
I'm
the article
not
is
following.
based.
Like, oh yeah, look at
Based
the EU. You mean the place that's doing infinitely better than the United? I'm not saying the EU doesn't have their problems. They have plenty of problems. They're not a utopia. Nowhere is.
Right.
But yeah, how could you not look at them and be like, oh, why? Yeah, I don't want to be. Look at them over there with their free educational opportunities and people only need one job to survive and everyone has health care. How messed up. Oh, wait, their economy's not based on war? Wow. How are they even living? That sounds terrible. When was the last time you looked at Europe and said the United States should be more like daily? Fucking every day, I think that. Who doesn't? My God. I mean, I love how people just, well, nowhere's perfect. Yeah, nowhere's perfect. But if you're sitting on like a pile of shit and there's an actual yard next door, I think you might want to sit in the yard, don't you? I mean, what the hell? Like, there is no perfect sandwich. Yeah, one has a piece of shit in it. The other one's an actual sandwich. You want the actual sandwich? Like, this article's already lost me. First sentence. Who would think that? Like anyone who's paying attention in the world.
Yeah,
anyone who is actually paying attention in the world.
I was thinking like, what? It's like Europe was doing pretty relatively okay until like they started listening to us like this year.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah,
their biggest problems is when they listen to us.
Oh my gosh. Okay. For most people, that would be a never. But that hope apparently keeps Senator Amy Klobuchar up at night. She's hard at work hawking antitrust legislation that would push the U.S. towards Europe's economic dysfunction.
Okay.
A few primers.
Who wrote this? I need to like.
Interesting.
This was written by someone who lives in Narnia. This was written in the Upside Down. That's where this was written. This was written. The bad
Hannah
guys in
Cox.
Stranger Things wrote this article.
Hannah Cox.
And
Good
she was
job,
right
Hannah.
on
This
that
article's
because-
great.
yeah. So, just for some comic relief, hopefully.
What
people
is antitrust?
Antitrust is kind of a wonky, boring area of public policy to most. That's all, man. This is just banger after banger in this article. This stuff's boring. I mean, sure, it could kind of revolutionize tools that we need, but it's boring. Don't pay attention. Just trust me, it's bad. Don't be like Europe. People are happy over there.
This person's a tool.
Oh my gosh. But it's important to understand the basics. Politicians use the antitrust legislation to break up businesses that they believe have become too big, or rather have too much of a monopoly in their market. People in both major parties will claim this is a capitalist idea meant to promote competition, but that's debatable. Real monopolies rarely, if ever, exist without government subsidies or crony regulations. And in a truly free market, competition ensures monopolies are broken up organically. Instead, we see the government use regulations, corporate welfare, and other subsidies to pick winners and losers in the market. And antitrust is just another way for politicians to go after the enemies of their corporate friends. What the fuck?
It's a very interesting take because yes, obviously corporations do get a lot of government subsidies, which is an issue, but then they're tying that into if the government didn't get involved, monopolies wouldn't be an issue, where it's like, no, the government is just giving away money to corporations, but that is not related to, like, that's not this, I don't know.
Yeah, the corporations are telling them what to do.
Right.
It's not like they appointed the corporations. Like the corporations are telling them what to do.
It's like, oh, you guys have money? Please, let's have the money and we'll do whatever you want.
Yeah. So,
okay. How does the U.S. antitrust standards compare to Europe's terrible system? But compared to other countries, the U.S. does at least have better standards for antitrust than others. How? So here, we use something called the Consumer Welfare Standard to determine whether or not antitrust has merit in a given situation. This standard means that the government doesn't only have to show that a company is a monopoly. Again, rare. It is also
really.
It also must show that the company has used.
It's like a lot of brainwashing. There's like, again,
this
to let you know that monopolies aren't really a thing.
If we tell them enough, they'll believe it.
She doesn't really show her work very often in this article. I mean, she just makes a statement.
I think that all of us can at least think of like 3 or 4 monopolies just like the top of our heads right now. And like, and not even this just tech, like in every industry, there's so many monopolies. I mean, there's like one meat factory.
Yeah.
Walmart,
in Europe,
Purdue.
And you can't even really compare and contrast because it's like antitrust law comes into place because, monopolies are happening and something has to be done. Europe, like a lot of places in Europe, they have different systems in place so that monopolies in this way don't happen as often. So it's like the entire thesis here is just sort of bogus. Like you're comparing apples and oranges. And yeah, this entire thesis just really does not make any sense. And to kind of go into every inconsistency would be way too hard for somebody who's dealing with COVID right now. Like it's just way, it's just way too much. It's just like, yeah, this doesn't track.
And you're just like, you have COVID. You're just like, I'm not even gonna try. I feel like they don't understand that a lot of the rules from before. We're still working with like like we were talking about earlier, the 1990s pre-internet age, like laws with the internet. So it's like, doesn't even like half the things that don't even apply like in the 21st century with the internet, and like people are still trying to pin down like phone rules on them.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, so many of our legislatures, I mean, I always say like we're governed by two types of people who don't understand the internet and people like Marjorie Taylor Greene who can't handle the internet. And those are the people who like make our laws when it comes to the internet. And that is so insanely ridiculous
and scary
and frightening. Yeah. I mean, so that's why whenever you do see some good legislation, you really want to go to the mat and make sure it gets passed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. To kind of sum it up, it's like the tech industry has spent millions of dollars. I mean, one of the numbers I've heard is 36. But they've spent millions and millions of dollars to try to stop these bills. The Amazon lobby has, the Google lobby has. They've made all kinds of excuses. They've said, oh, we won't be able to offer Amazon Prime or Google Maps anymore if this passes. That's a bunch of hogwash. This doesn't stop anyone from offering anything they want. It just stops the monopolistic practices that we described. So every excuse I've heard, and by the way, there are some people in the digital rights space who aren't supporting these bills for various reasons. I think the reasons to not support them pale in comparison to the reasons to support them. And these are good pieces of legislation. And all of the kind of like naysayer things about these bills, I think are just at best very, very minor points and most of the time just completely and absurdly bogus.
Yeah. No, for sure. And so we've got the petition, the antitrust summer petition, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it might be good if we just drop it in the chat as well, just so that more people could sign it.
It's also in the description.
Description. Perfect. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, Ron, I mean, I think and I'm wondering if you have had any ideas or thoughts about this. What are different, besides like petitions and stuff, what are ways that we could try and make people more aware of how important antitrust is and how much it really is affecting people's lives without even realizing it?
That's a good question. I mean, I think the most important thing is to kind of create content that sort of breaks it down for people. I mean, that's why, like, you know, the cool thing about the Antitrust Summer website, it links directly to the John Oliver segment and to other stuff. So, you know, pointing people in the direction of that website, obviously the goal is for them to sign the petition. It takes 40 seconds to sign. It is very important. Please do it. Antitrustsummer.com. But, you know, also check out the stuff and look into these things and see how antitrust really does affect your life, because it affects the future of the internet as we know it. And, you know, the thing about digital rights is that it does take place online. So, you know, spreading the word is going to be done online. And I personally don't understand, and I'm not saying this to be disparaging towards anyone, because I get it, like people have a lot of stuff on their plates, but I feel like every content creator in the country should be screaming about this, because this kind of bleeds into what we do. So I don't understand why digital rights doesn't take up more you know, doesn't kind of take up more space in the in kind of the gamut of things for a lot of content creators out there. And I hope to see that change, because I feel like it should have more real estate on what everybody does, because it's just infinitely important. And you know, I've been kind of staying on top of this stuff since 2004. It's always been something I've been really passionate about and really interested in. So I've lived through people telling me things like net neutrality is never going to go away. Stop talking about it. It's not interesting. We don't want to publish a piece about it. And then look what happened in 2017. Net neutrality freaking went away. So, you know, I take no pleasure in, you know, having an I told you so moment for something like that. But it's one of those things where it's just like, look, we could either act now or we can regret it later. I'd rather act now.
Well, we appreciate people like you who follow like especially like antitrust laws, because like not everybody has the aptitude to just go in and be like for like since like 2014 just stick on it for that long. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I find it interesting. So
Mhm.
I mean, it's kind of a pretty niche thing, but I've always
It's
kind of
cool,
been
though.
into it. Yeah, it's fun stuff. But
Well, it depends on who's talking to you about it, because like you talk about it, it makes it cool, but then, like somebody else to be talking about it and be like,
Right.
just start passing out.
yeah, I mean, it is one of those issues. I mean, I guess that is something they pointed out in the article that's not entirely false. Like, yeah, it can be a bit, it can be a bit dry. But then when you really look into what it actually does, it's like anything but that, because it's just like, oh, wait, this would screw with the way my podcast loads or the way I would get my Netflix, or, oh, this would allow other people to make apps, or this would allow, I mean,
Yeah.
when you really break down what this stuff actually does. And I think some of that's by design, man. I think big tech, they definitely like the little gravy train they got. They don't want that to change. So, convince people that these bills won't really do anything. Convince people that these bills aren't necessary. Convince people that there's nothing wrong with the way things are. We're a friendly monopoly. AT&T did the same thing with the phone lines. They told everyone they were doing the best that they could, that long distance calls had to be that expensive, et cetera, et cetera. Turns out they weren't telling the truth. Guess who is one of the big ISPs right now in the country? AT&T. Interesting how some of the same players are involved again. So, antitrustsummer.com, folks.
Hey, Noli.
Hey, Noli.
Noli.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Well, yeah. So, Luden, Z, any other last words that you wanted to say before closing it out?
No, I just want to encourage everybody to go to antitrustsummer.com and go fill that out. I got to fill that out today a little bit earlier, and it's very quick. And I mean, it might, if you want to prompt and go ahead and call your congressmen or your senators, it'll prompt you to do that. But I mean, you don't have to. Just send the tweet out as well, but just share it and make sure it gets out there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I also signed the thingy, and I'd say go for it. If you don't, and we end up losing this, then can't really complain about what we get further down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Ron, give you an opportunity just to talk about anything coming up that you have, or anything to look out for.
Well, I still have a few tour dates left for 2022. Unfortunately, Iceland has been postponed till next year, but I will be in the Northwest at the end of July 28th, Portland, Oregon, July 29th, Seattle, Washington, and July 30th, Vancouver, British Columbia. I'll be with Graham Elwood. Him and I are co-headlining those dates, so you can go to romplacone.com for those tickets. And I look forward to seeing everybody on the road after missing a festival. I'm really looking forward to, to getting back out there one more time in 2022. And in 2023, Iceland will be making up those dates, and I'll probably be doing some stuff in the UK as well. So yeah, romplacone.com for those Northwest tour dates, and antitrustsummer.com. Please sign the petition. And, you can follow me, Ron Placone, on all the socials. I'm not going to be super active at the moment because I'm getting over COVID, but I will be back as quickly as possible.
I think Noli might come out to see you.
Noli, come on out. Come on out to the show.
People.
RonPlacone.com. Come on out.
Thanks for coming on, Ron. And,
thanks for having me, y'all.
Love to have you again.
Absolutely. Anytime. Be well.
You
Peace.
too, man. Go
better.
Thanks. Thank you.
All right, folks.
All right.
Do we have anything
alrighty,
else
y'all.
on the docket?
Yep.
Right.
Well, I guess that's it. Working on Revolutionary Reader. We'll be back on We should be back on Sunday or Monday with another overlooked episode, and we'll be back next week with our usual panels. Andrew, Luton, what you got going on?
Well, outside of being Batman,
I love it.
As if it's like common knowledge. Yeah, Ludin, Batman, duh.
If you don't see me on the panel, then that means I'm somewhere in the background.
I'm Cape Crusader, and we have Andrew. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, right now, not much. Just
I agree.
possibly overlooked news this weekend, and catch us next Thursday. We'll be doing panel again, the New Left panels, most likely at 8 p.m. Eastern, and just
There might also be a surprise that we have lined up for next week as well.
Actually, yeah. Check it out. We have a giveaway coming out, and
yes,
just be looking out for that. We'll be giving away like some prizes from each one of our hosts, and we're just trying to we're going to try to get our subscription going up so we can get more content to everybody and to reach more eyes and ears, and hopefully get people to know that they are the revolution.
Yes, I love that. You are the revolution.
All right, well, everybody, y'all be easy, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.